Hello, my name is Dr. Michael Pravatera, and I'm coming to you today with a couple of leadership topics that have been in current events in the Wall Street Journal. The first one I want to talk to you about is COVID-19 was a leadership test. It came back negative by Sam Walker, March 14th, 2020. In summary, leadership is what prevents a pandemic, as opposed to managers who just respond to crisis. Leaders create systems to prevent crisis from happening. We usually define heroes as people who save the day. And one expert put it, we talk about firefighters and first responders, but what about all the people who keep the day from needing to be saved? Their work is often invisible, and they don't get the glory. One problem with upstream leadership is the difficulty of grading it. You cannot assemble a panel of grateful people who did not get stuck in an elevator or would have died if an ambulance arrived 90 seconds later. As this expert put it, how do you prove when something did not happen? As we look at this article in the Wall Street Journal, one way to apply it is to look at leadership as foresight and crisis prevention, which illuminates the preceding article. And if you look at a manager who has to fight fires, not by a leader with foresight to prevent them, what you have is what you call a reactive leader as opposed to a proactive leader. So some questions that I pose here, according to the writer, certain types of audits exist, and by the same token, why is a leader better than a manager? Why is it more glorious to be a manager than a leader? Very often. Why does a manager often get more praise than a leader? What does leadership mean in the context of this article? And what is the difference between a leader and a manager? So you can read the article, and I'll show you the article so you can go to the Wall Street Journal and read it. Stay with me a second. Okay, that's Article 1. Okay, back in action. Let's take a look at Article 2. Let's look at Wall Street Journal. Disney's new CEO described as a number-crunching tactician. While Disney, this is by Joe Flint, R.T. Watson, February 26, 2020. Summary. While Disney chairman Bob Iger is known for being charismatic and cosmopolitan, his successor as CEO, Bob Chapek, is all business. He is described as a skilled tactician who identifies targets and looks for ways to achieve his metrics. As head of the Parks and Resorts Division, he amassed 5 consecutive years of growth, thanks to historic expansion and strategic cost reduction. Bob Chapek doesn't fail. He is incredibly disciplined about doing what it takes to deliver the numbers, one former executive said. So how would we apply this then? Well, we could look at Chapek's resume and how does it include oversight, and look at his work, acknowledge that film and television production was one area in which he would have to immerse himself. Given that our only product is creative product, I've been completely immersed in editing and looking at product my entire Disney career, he said. So we wonder if he can he learn to be creative on the job. and that's the question of the Wall Street Journal. So some questions we talk about. What do you know about Disney chairman Bob Iger? What is his management style? Why has he been so successful at Disney? What does it take to run a company like Disney? You could ponder that. So I'm going to take a look at the article now. Stay with me again, and I'll now show you the article. So here is the article. Wall Street Journal. Described as all business, Disney's new CEO is a number-crunching tactician. Okay? So that's number 2. So moving along here on this Friday afternoon, as I look at the Wall Street Journal current events, the next one is a little bit different. We're looking at the higher echelon of organizations. Corporate boards suffer experience gap as coronavirus upends business, by John Stahl, March 20th, 2020. This is more of a corporate governance type article, but still very important for us today, given the current state of events and the situation that we find ourselves in. So in summary, as the new coronavirus wreaks havoc, it is fair to ask how prepared today's boardrooms are. The author argues that a movement that was designed to make boards better by removing overboarded directors, i.e. directors who held a half dozen or so public board seats at the same time, may instead leave some companies flat-footed. Precisely these overboarded affiliations have proven invaluable in past times of crisis. When General Motors was skidded toward bankruptcy in 2008-2009, Ford Motor relied on a longtime board member with deep connections and multiple board seats, namely ex-Goldman Sachs President John Thornton, to help it survive its own liquidity crisis. So how do we apply this in the classroom? Well, we could look at a debate whether it is better for firms in such crisis to have board directors with fewer ties to other firms, but lots of time devoted to the company, or whether, on the contrary, it is better to have board directors with perhaps less time for their companies, but with more links to boards of other firms, and thus a broader perspective and connections beyond the confines of the company. And in reaction to this, a question may be, on what basis? Well, let's look at why is the old insider system dismantled? According to the article, who led the charge in dismantling the system? So, like taking a look at this article, I would just take my phone again and I'll turn it around and I will show you corporate boards suffer from an experience gap as the coronavirus upends business. So, it's been great talking to you today on Friday afternoon from my home office here in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And I want you to know that you're important, your learning is important, and your knowledge of leadership and management is important to me, is important to you, important to everybody that knows you and everyone in the world. Take care and have a great weekend and stay safe. Dr. Michael Pravatera signing off.